Welcome back, all you wonderful family and friends that subscribe and like us. And you know what? Even welcome back to those of you who are giving me the old thumbs down. As long as we're gaining driving knowledge together, I'm not too mad that you don't like these videos. Okay, well, truthfully, I'm a little hurt, but that's just my pride talking. Anyway, let's continue to where we left off last time when we were taking actual comments and suggestions from your DMV test experiences and revealing the mysteries behind the questions you've missed. That's right, it's part 2 of the DMV Files Secret Undercover DMV Test Question Mysteries Exposed. Let's jump right in, again going in no particular order because your actual test will be in no particular order. We have 2 great mysteries to investigate thanks to echoes fading. This first is about the punishment for hit and run. Let's turn to the handbook under the heading What to Do If You Are in a Collision, where the DMV defines hit and run. Failing to stop or leaving the scene of an accident is called a hit and run. The punishment is severe if you are convicted of a hit and run. Nice. Okay, well, no, not nice, but now we know that, what a hit and run is and that the punishment is severe. So turning back to the DMV Handbook under the section Suspension or Revocation, we see just what severe punishment is. DMV will revoke your driving privilege if you are convicted of a hit and run or reckless driving that resulted in injury. Courts also have the authority to suspend a person's driving privilege. To put it in another way, your driving days are over and done when hurting folks with a hit and run. Moving on, Echoes Fading introduces another great test topic we need to discuss. Children under 8 years old may ride in the front seat of a vehicle in a federally approved child passenger restraint system under the following instance. We uncover the answer to this question under the section Child Restraint System and Safety Seats. While kids who are under 8 years old or less than 4 feet 9 inches tall should almost always be secured in a child seat in the back seat of a vehicle, there are some exceptions to this rule, as Echoes Fading has pointed out. In some cases, children under 8 years old may ride in the front seat of a vehicle in a federally approved child passenger restraint system, and they may ride in the front seat if there is no rear seat, the rear seats are side-facing jump seats, the rear seats are rear-facing seats, the child passenger restraint system cannot be installed properly in the rear seat, all rear seats are already occupied by children 7 years old or younger, medical reasons prevent the child from riding in the back seat. So now you know, here are some instances where children under 8 years old can ride in a child seat in the front of a vehicle. So thank you so much for sharing that Echoes Fading. Venkat ASMB brings us a stellar question about what to do at a railroad crossing if the gate is not lowered and red lights are still flashing, but there's no train approaching. If we take a look-see in the handbook, we find a whole lot of information about what to do at train crossings in the section near railroad or light rail tracks. There are actually a few questions that could appear on your real test, so let's take a quick look at everything the DMV has to offer here. Pay attention to this first part because there is a genuine DMV question that goes like this. You are approaching a railroad crossing with no warning devices and are unable to see 400 feet down the tracks in one direction. The speed limit is, if we read the first paragraph, it gives the answer right away. The speed limit is 15 miles per hour within 100 feet of a railroad crossing and you cannot see the tracks for 400 feet in both directions. Did you get that? 15 miles per hour when there are no warning devices and are unable to see 400 feet down the tracks. It is worth noting that the rule only applies when there are no warning devices, as the DMV says in the next sentence. You may drive faster than 15 miles per hour if the crossing is controlled by gates, a warning signal, or a flagman. Anyhow, as we continue reading, we find the answer to Venkat ASMB's question. At railroad or train crossings, flashing red warning lights indicate you must stop and wait. Do not proceed over the railroad tracks until the red lights stop flashing, even if the gate rises. So even if the gate is up or rises, you do not go over the railroad tracks until the red lights stop flashing, even if you don't see any trains coming. Now, before we leave this topic, let's go over the rest of the train track rules, as there are a few more pointers here that definitely can show up on your test in the form of a question. When the crossing devices or a person warns you a train is coming, stop at least 15 feet from the nearest track. Remember this next one for sure. It is a part of a real test question. Do not go under lowering gates or around lowered gates. If the gates are lowered and you do not see a train approaching, call the posted railroad emergency toll-free number or 911. Just remember, you can go under or around railroad crossing gates under no circumstances. Stop, look, and listen. If you see a train coming or hear a horn or a bell, do not cross. Many crossings have multiple tracks, so look in both directions and only cross when it is safe. Expect a train on any track at any time traveling in either direction. This next one has been known to show up on tests as well. Never stop on the railroad tracks, wait, and do not begin proceeding if you do not have enough room to completely cross the tracks. If you are on the tracks, you risk injury or death. Just remember, never cross train tracks unless you have enough room to completely cross the tracks. And another topic you may see, watch for vehicles that must stop before they cross train tracks. These vehicles include buses, school buses, and vehicles marked with a hazardous materials placard. Just remember that vehicles, including tank trucks marked with a hazardous materials placard, must stop before crossing tracks. Okay, that's a lot of information about train tracks and railroad crossings, but I guarantee you'll definitely see at least one of those questions on your test, if not more. Next on the docket is baby talk, or should I say, let's talk about babies and whether we should be leaving them in cars. This topic was brought up by @redeyed and is a great example of how sometimes DMV tests can have a few double whammies when you see the same topic discussed in multiple questions. @redeyed shares, I remember there being a question saying, when is it okay to leave a baby in a car? I said never, and the answer was with a child 12 and over. Then a few questions later being asked pretty much the same thing, just worded differently, and I got it wrong because the answer was never. That's tough business because not knowing the regulations here cost our red-eyed friend 2 missed points. As we turn our attention back to the DMV Handbook, we see the section Unattended Children and Pets, and it covers both questions in 2 short sentences. It is illegal to leave a child who is 6 years old or younger unattended in a vehicle. A child may be left under the supervision of a person who is at least 12 years old. Therefore, when it comes to babies, assuming it's safe to say that a baby is younger than 6 years old, you actually can leave them in a car as long as they are supervised by a person 12 years old or older. And make sure you read whatever question you get carefully and you'll do just fine. Just memorize this. You can never leave a child 6 years or younger in a car alone, but you can leave them in a car as long as they are being watched by someone who is at least 12 years old. Got it? Good. Next up, let's look at yet another educational handbook entry titled Manage Your Speed, where we'll find one more notable piece of DMV trivia that you'll want to memorize. And this one comes to us courtesy of @.6658, who asks, what's the speed limit for pulling a trailer? As we can see here with our very own eyes, the DMV says, unless otherwise posted, the ideal maximum speed limit on most California highways is 65 miles per hour. It is 55 miles per hour on a 2-lane undivided highway and for vehicles towing trailers. Shall I repeat? It is 55 miles per hour on a 2-lane undivided highway and for vehicles towing trailers. One more time, for vehicles towing trailers, 55 miles per hour is the ideal max speed unless otherwise posted. And that's not all from our friend @.6658, who contributed another DMV topic to investigate by asking, where can you put stickers on your car? While there is no actual mention of any stickers in the DMV Handbook, there is a hidden gem in the other important roadway information section that unveils this DMV mystery. You must not put signs or other objects on the front windshield or side rear windows that block your view. Do not hang objects on the mirror. Objects may only be affixed in these locations: a 7-inch square on the lower corner of the passenger side windshield or the lower corner of the rear window, a 5-inch square on the lower corner of the driver's side window, on the side windows behind the driver, and a 5-inch square located in the center uppermost portion of your windshield for an electronic toll payment device. While all these numbers and locations seem a little much to memorize, hopefully you get the main point that any sticker, sign, or object stuck to your window needs to be put in a location that does not distract your driving vision. In general, try to remember 7 inches for passenger side window and rear window, 5 inches for driver's window and front windshield, and the side window behind the driver, put it anywhere you want. Our next contribution comes to us from 75-year-old @GrabShot, who renewed his license, and one question he missed was something about yield ahead sign. While yield and yielding come up quite a bit in the handbook, there's only one mention of a yield ahead sign, and it's the picture we see here on this very colorful DMV handbook page. Like the stop ahead sign warns you are approaching a stop sign, the yield ahead sign warns you that you are approaching a yield sign. Under the signs section, we see that the yield sign is a red triangle, and per DMV, it means slow down and be ready to stop to let any vehicle, bicyclist, or pedestrian pass before you proceed. So when we see a yield ahead sign, it warns or gives us a heads up that we need to be prepared to slow down or stop ahead. And you'll often see these stop ahead and yield ahead signs in places where you might not be expecting to have to slow down or stop. One example would be on a higher speed road where you need more time to prepare to reduce your speed in case you need to stop. And another example might be on a hilly or curvy road where you can't see very far ahead. The yield ahead sign gives you forewarning that you need to be prepared to reduce your speed ahead. All right, everybody, we made it to the end of this video, but wait, please don't go just yet because I have something super important to ask. I have been brainstorming ideas for our next video together, and I've narrowed it down to these 3 choices, all great ideas that have come via comments from intelligent type peoples just like you. So let me know in the comments what topic you would find most helpful, okay? So option number 1, it's a numbers game. It's a video all about numbers and figures that you might find on your DMV test. For example, 18 inches from the curb, 200 feet in a bike lane, $1,000 for dumping an animal, and things like that. Option number 2, know your paint. It's a video all about pavement and lane markings, and this would cover anything and everything that gets painted on the road. So think things like yellow lane lines, white lane lines, dashed lines, solid lines, sharrows, turn lanes, limit lines, yield lines, and so much more. Or option number 3, I saw a sign. This would be a video all about traffic signs. Now, we already have one video dedicated to this topic, but it only covers about like 15 to 20 of the most popular signs. So in this video, we would look at almost every sign and signal from the traffic control section of the DMV Handbook. And that is a whole lot of signs. So please just let me know what video you would like to see, and I'll get to work on it. Also, please help us dominate the YouTube algorithm by liking and subscribing to this video. And if you really like us, then just rewatch this video a few million times too. Okay, all, thanks again. I really do appreciate you. And best of luck to anybody who is watching and has an upcoming DMV test. You can do it. Just take it one question at a time. And when all else fails, just use a little common sense. You got this. Until next time, from Permit Quiz Liz and everyone at Drivers Ed Direct, please stay safe out there, everybody.